In this video, I want to focus on qualities of the verb. This video and some others following it. The first quality I want to look at that every verb is going to have, every main verb, is person and number. These two things go together. So the person virtue of a verb is speaking to or is related to the audience of the message that's being conveyed. So every clause is a subject and predicate that conveys as a message a historic happening that has a truth value. And this utterance, whether it's spoken or written or whatnot, is going to originate from the speaker, the writer, the author. Let's just use that term, the author. And it's going to be put into a whole mechanism of semantics. The English language, for example, that's one code, or the Spanish language, or the verbal word, which is a phonetic code, or the written word, which is a scripted code. You get the idea, right? But it's going to be conveyed to the audience. Now, the audience has person. This is the term that we use to describe this. The speaker of the utterance of the clause, the originator, the author of the clause, is always considered to be the first person in this conversation. By the way, really getting a good handle on the person part of a verb is to just think in terms of audience. All right, so you're always going to have an audience. The person speaking is always considered the first person in the conversation. So the person that is being spoken to, or the thing that is being spoken to directly, is considered the second person of the conversation. So if you think in terms of conversation, you always have to have two partners to dance here, and the first one is always going to be the originator of the clause. That's the first person. And then the direct, the direct recipient of that clause is your second person. Often it's another person. Sometimes it's a pet. Sometimes it's God when we pray. Sometimes it's things. We say all sorts of stuff to all sorts of audiences. So anyway, that's your second person. Now, as you're having this conversation between the originator and the receiver, the first person and the second person, there's obviously, the possibility that you just speak about yourself and about the other person that's right in front of you, the second person. But we very often, speak about items or objects that are not the second person or the first person, okay? So we can, John and Jerry are talking, and they might be talking about Jennifer. Jennifer is not part of that conversation. So that's going to be your third person. The third person is always more or less how would I say? It could be part of that verb form, but it's really characterized by a sort of lack of directness. Now that's really awkward. I want to say absence, but sometimes the thing can be there. Like I'm talking to you. I'm first person, you're second person, whoever's watching this video. If I start talking about these glasses, right, then this is actually taking on the third person aspect, because it's what you and I are now talking about, right? So even though it's here, it's right here, So I don't want to say that this is absent from the conversation, but in this moment of originating the clause and directing it to somebody or to something, there can be information that's about objects or persons that are not in that binary relationship, right? That's what we call the third person, okay? So if you and I are talking about it and I want to talk about this TV back here, I'm going to talk about it in the third person. If I wanted to talk to it in the second person, I would turn around and say, you are a big TV, okay, or whatever, monitor. So first person, second person, third person. Think in terms of a conversation. First person is always the one speaking. Second person is the object or person or groups of people that are being directly addressed. And if there are objects or people that are being addressed in that conversation but not directly, they're the third person position in the conversation. Okay, now that's person. And if you want to talk about pronouns, right, the first person is always going to be the I, the second person is going to be the you, and the third person pronoun is always going to be the it, right? So now that you see how the person functions, you realize very quickly that it can have number. You can have singular and plural, right? You can have one person that's speaking, or you can have a group of people that are speaking, originating the utterance. You can have one person that's directly receiving it, or you can have more than one person, a group, a class, a congregation, whatever, that's directly receiving it. And you can often refer to another object that's not in this direct address situation. And it could be one TV, or it could be many boxes. You see what I'm saying? So there's singular, there's plurality. All right. So verbs can also carry information about number. They carry information about person. They carry information about number. All right. And if you want to think of these in terms of pronouns, the first person singular is I. The second person singular is you. The third person singular is it. The first person plural is we, right? Us. The second person plural is you all, or yous, or, many times we just say you, but in foreign languages and ancient languages, it's going to have a slightly different form because we want to distinguish between the you singular and the you plural. I love what the South does. I do it all the time. You all, I think, is grammatically sustainable and, in fact, more complete than some of our other variations. Third person plural is going to be they, them, their, that sort of thing. Okay, person and number, some things that verbs will always have.